Hello, and thank you for accepting our invitation to happiness. Ryuho Okawa is known as a global visionary because of his deep spiritual insight and commitment to guide the world to a brighter future. To accomplish this, he founded Happy Science Group in 1986, which is now a global movement in over 100 countries. His vision and message to the world goes beyond the differences of race and language, empowering people with love. Together, in this 8-part series, we will explore practical ways on how you can be happy and how you can take part in creating happiness as a society. At some point in our lives, we all wonder what will happen after we die. Where do we go? What is it like? Most of us have all experienced death, whether it was a death of a loved one or maybe even a near-death experience yourself. There have been many records of what happens after death, and recently there was a neurosurgeon who wrote a book on his own experience. If you were asked the question, what happens after death, would you have an answer? But before we go any further, let's take it to the streets and ask the people in New York about what they think happens after death.
What happened after you die? I really don't know, but I do believe that there's a better place after this. I mean, I watched the history channels and, I read a lot of Bibles, and you know what? I do believe there's a better place after this, and the only thing I could say is never give up your dreams.
I believe the word of God. The afterlife, after death, there's life. That life, we cannot say what it's going to be. We can only know what this present life holds.
I think that our bodies return their mass to the earth that it came from. And if we have a soul, then it probably doesn't stick around. I don't know where it goes though.
Well, hopefully I get to be reabsorbed back into this amazing planet.
How about you? What do you think happens after death? Today we'll explore the world after death.
Happy Science has grown larger as a religious organization, so I often give a lecture based on the natural presumption that the other world exists. However, many people in the world don't naturally believe that the other world exists. So in this lecture, I would like to speak in a way that's easier to understand for people who are wondering whether the other world exists, and those who say they don't believe in it, as well as those who are just about to acknowledge the truth. Modern science has developed significantly in the last 200 years or so. However, just considering religions that still exist today, there is a history of more than several thousand years. It must be quite hard for science to assess religion, which existed even before science began to develop. When we discuss with scientific-minded people, scientists and materialists who do not believe in the other world and the spirit world, it seems as if they're holding a 12-inch ruler and saying, if I can't measure it, then I won't believe it. What people mean when they say they don't know or can't believe in the other world is this. Isn't it unkind not to let people in this world know that such a place really exists and that Buddha and God exist as well? If such things really do exist, then surely it would have been available for more people to know. Since humans can't easily comprehend those things, they probably don't exist. That which can't be confirmed by experiment isn't worth believing. However, not everyone can recognize such things. And the reason is because this world and our lives are some kind of test. Humans come to the spirit world, which is the real world, dwell in a physical body, and live in the material world. They are tested to see how much they are able to grasp the spiritual view of life, or how much they can experience and practice what they've learned from Buddha and God while living in this material world. People accumulate diverse experiences in this life, but those are tests. When the test is over and our life ends, we will come to understand about the spirit world. When our test is done, we will be given a comprehensive review of our lives, and we will be given a general overview of our life on earth. The spirit world will remain invisible during our life on earth. This life is a kind of test, so we can't be given all the answers. However, we can receive a lot of clues during our lifetime. Various opportunities have been prepared for us in order to realize this. During this life, we will be asked many questions. What will you gain from the various possibilities in this life? What will you grasp as your ideas, philosophy, or the conclusion of your life? Moreover, we will know whether we achieved a passing score or not when we die. At this point, we will see a flip in worldly values, such as success or failure in life and in society. No matter how many people doubt the existence of the spirit world, doubt religion, and persecute religion in this world, nothing will disturb the spirit world because everyone will eventually die. Knowledge of the other world is a great power. However, what gives you even greater power is to believe in the other world, not just to know it. Believing is similar to being on an airplane or a ship going abroad. It's risky, but you are able to go on a big trip. You're able to obtain a new vision of the world by traveling uncharted continents and the unknown world. Not being able to believe means that you're unable to see or experience the world beyond walking distance. In the medical world, various reports on near-death experience have been made public in the last 2 or 3 decades. Currently, near-death experiences include terminal care, have become a topic of research. In fact, the number of people who openly deny near-death experience is decreasing, while the number of people who are 50-50 about whether such a thing could exist is increasing. This is why near-death experience has become a topic of research. However, it still hasn't made the connection to religion. According to research by doctors, there are thousands or tens of thousands of reported cases of people who have been in traffic accidents or have suffered heart attacks or brain disease, who also have had out-of-body experiences while unconscious and with a stopped heart. Out of various kinds of near-death experiences, the most common seems to be the one in which the heart stops and the soul comes out from the body. The soul is usually watching his or her own body, lying on the bed in the intensive care unit at a hospital, 7 to 10 feet above the body, closer to the ceiling. Happy Science's view on brain death is that a person is not considered dead as long as his heart remains beating. Cardiac arrest is a sign that the soul may exit from the body. The soul wouldn't be able to leave the body so easily prior to that. However, once the heart stops, it becomes quite easy for the soul to leave the body. First, the soul exits out of the body, and in most cases, it stays floating near its body, near the ceiling, or somewhere close by. It sometimes comes too close to its own body and ends up going back inside the body. During the out-of-body experience, the soul is connected to its body via the silver cord. Sometimes there are people who can actually see it. Only those who can keep their mind calm are able to see this connection. Some of those who have a lot of experience with out-of-body states know about the cord connection. There are some who even see a person come from a different world and try to cut the cord as though he or she were cutting an umbilical cord. They say to the person who comes down from the other world, "Don't cut the cord. If you cut it, I won't be able to come back to life. Please don't cut it." There are such cases. Then usually, you will experience something called the tunnel phenomenon, in which you will see a single black dot appear in your vision. As you wonder what it is, the dot grows, just like a spilled ink would. The dot continues to grow bigger and turns into a black tunnel. When you realize how large it has become, you will feel as though you're being sucked into the tunnel. Many people have experienced this phenomenon. The tunnel phenomenon occurs only between the time the soul separates from the body and the time it enters the spirit world. In many cases, you will see an extremely dazzling light near the end of the tunnel. Some people have said that they couldn't open their eyes because of the white dazzling light. Yet others have said that the light was several hundred times brighter than the sun, but not so dazzling. There were various other accounts, many of which describe white light. At this stage, their vision is still blurry, but they can faintly see someone in the light coming toward them. Many of those who have had near-death experiences say that God was coming to them. But there's no way that God would visit so many people, so it's probably their guardian spirit or guiding spirit of a slightly higher spiritual rank, who came as a guiding angel to lead them to the next world. In the next stage, you'll come to the river Styx. Many have seen this river, particularly among the Japanese people. You will come to a field of flowers after following your guiding angel in the light for a while. The field will be full of rapeseed flowers, cosmos, daisies, and a host of other flowers. On the ground in the park, flowers bloom in profusion. Many of the accounts mention this field of flowers. You will see a beautiful river running through it. This river marks the boundary between life and death. It is said that there's no turning back once you cross it. Many people who had out-of-body experience turn back before crossing the river or after having crossed halfway and return to this world. The silver cord snaps when you cross this river. You will make the decision whether you should cross this river or not after discussing with people who have come over from the other side. For some people, their late grandmother and grandfather come to welcome them soon after their soul leaves the body. But more people meet their late family members after traveling through the tunnel and passing into the world of light.
The truth is, there is life after death. Human beings come from the spirit world, which is the real world, dwell in a physical body, and live in this material world. We go through life in order to test ourselves on how much we can grasp or understand the spiritual view of life and practice the teachings of God in this material world. This world can be compared to a training ground, its purpose, soul training. There are many near-death experiences reported in modern medicine, but from the viewpoint of the truth, the dividing line between life and death is not when your heart stops beating, but when the silver cord connecting your soul and body is disconnected. Let's go back to the lecture to learn more.
Usually, religious workers take on the job of guiding the spirits in the other world. Most people in this world belong to a religious group, such as Christianity and Buddhism. Therefore, it's better to belong to a religion. When someone who doesn't belong to a religion dies, the spirits in the spirit world become confused as to who should take care of them. This is why it's a good thing that there are sects or denominations in each religion. Otherwise, it would be unclear as to who in the other world will take care of that person, and he will end up causing trouble. As long as he belongs to a religious group, its representatives will welcome him and be in charge of taking care of him so that everything goes very smoothly. If the person is a Christian, then a Christian angel will come as a guide and lead him. And where he goes after crossing the Styx is a church, of course. If a person is a Buddhist, then he will be taken to a temple. There are temples and shrines in the other world too. In this way, each person is led to a facility of the religion he belongs to and is given guidance on the other world. It's better to have a connection to some religion or denomination, even just for the time being. Otherwise, you'll have a hard time in the other world. Of course, after death, it is often the case that relatives come, such as a mother or a father. But it does not always happen that way. There are also people who are in the middle of spiritual training, and as a result of which, they are unable to go help. In such situations, because help is still far off and the person is in pain, it is best to have some religious affiliation. Although a person may have no faith himself, fortunately, he can connect to a religion if a friend or someone close to him has faith. There are over 6 billion people on earth, and someone dies in an accident or dies of sickness every day. This is immediately conveyed to the spirit world, and a spirit with a connection to that person will come to meet him. Thankfully, friends and relatives come as well, and even supporters from the same religion come to help. Many people in the other world know of a person's death. Seeing this, we realize how much each person is cared for and realize so many spirits are at this work. When you die, you start having flashbacks and begin to look back on your life. This becomes in many forms depending on the individual. In some cases, you will see your life through a mirror or a movie screen. In other cases, you will see various scenes in a recollection of your memories. According to reports on near-death experiences, strangely enough, everybody makes a common point that there is no such thing as time in the other world. Time is dependent on the Earth's rotation, so there's no concept of time in the other world. In the reports, everyone says that the other world has no sense of time and space. That's exactly how it is. When you recall your past, you'll be able to recall your whole life in an instant, making you wonder if such a thing is actually possible. Usually, you would think it would take several years to review even the highlight versions of your life, but you'll be able to recall everything in a moment, starting with your childhood. It's been reported that everything comes back to mind, including the good and the bad, the time you got into a fight, when things went right, relationships with your parents, siblings, and children, friendships, about school and the workplace. At that time, you don't only see your life from your own perspective. Interestingly, you also see things from the standpoint of a third party. For example, you'll be able to see the scenes of you and a friend fighting during your childhood through the eyes of someone else. Consequently, this is not a memory of what you saw with your own eyes. That information, in fact, comes from your guardian spirit. In the videotape of life, there are things that are recorded as impressions that you got with your own eyes, but there are video images recorded through the eyes of your guardian spirit too. So you're able to see yourself through the eyes of a third party. As you look at an image of yourself in the past, you'll be able to enter a world that existed decades ago, as if you were in the time machine. Your present self is there, but your past self in the scene cannot see you. According to one report of a near-death experience, a weapons seller recalled having sold his weapons. However, he was also shown how the weapons were used after he sold them, how people were killed by those weapons, and how their families grieved and suffered. Moreover, he had to see the funeral and the families crying over the dead body of their loved ones. In this life, his business was done after he sold his weapons. In the spiritual world, however, the things you aren't aware of while you are alive are recorded too. You'll have to study these things in the other world shortly after you die. Your destination in the spirit world won't be decided until you have studied these things and reflected on your past deeds. As you are shown each scene from your life, you'll be asked to judge your life. What do you think of this scene? Was this the right thing to do or not? What would you have done in this case? People who have received a science-based education often say that they don't believe things that they aren't scientifically proven or logically explained. However, nothing is logical in the spirit world. The spirit world is far from logical. Therefore, it's impossible to logically explain a world that's not logical. It is just like measuring the size of a sky by using a 30-centimeter ruler, as mentioned earlier, which is impossible. The only logical thing about the spirit world might be the law of cause and effect, as taught in happy science. In other words, it's the law of cause, condition, result, and reward. Everything has a cause to which a condition is added. Then a result arises, and through the result comes a reward. This order logically exists. There's such a relationship. There's always a cause to everything, a condition added to it, and that gives a result. and through that comes a reward. However, there's nothing logical at all about the spirit world aside from this. I've mentioned about having to pass through a tunnel through the near-death experience. But this is for people in general who don't have much knowledge or experience regarding the afterlife, who live every day soaked in a three-dimensional vibration. In my case, I can move straight to the spirit world without going through the tunnel. I now exist in a three-dimensional world. However, the truth is, all fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and ninth dimensional space coexist in this three-dimensional space. Shakyamuni Buddha was correct in saying that the dimension of enlightenment you obtain in this world and the dimension of the other world you return to will be the same. Which world you'll go after death is determined by how well controlled your mind is and the dimension of enlightenment you've obtained at that point. A person whose mind isn't well refined has a third-dimensional vibration. So if you do, you'll struggle to make it to the fourth-dimensional world after death. You'll need to experience something similar to shedding your skin or growing out a shell. Also, after you go back to the other world, you must remove a lot of the worldly grime that's stained on you. You have to scrub off the dirt you accumulated from the diverse experiences of this world, study the essence of time and space, and experience what is to be a human being. After going through this process, you'll come to know the purpose of your life and mission for the very first time. You'll think, so that was the purpose of my life. The afterlife is not intended to be a place for you to suffer or lament. Of course, it can be that kind of place for people who live a mistaken way of life. However, for those who live righteously, the other world will be far more beautiful, peaceful, and happier than this world. It's such a wonderful world that only a small number of spirits want to come back to this world. In a sense, your life in this world is a test. You accumulate many experiences and are experimented with for a certain period of time without you knowing. And depending on the results, you may end up in a world of suffering. This is why it's a huge problem not to know the truth. Modern society is in a truly dangerous state because many people consider this truth an unscientific superstition or an obsolete idea that only people long ago believed in. We have the job to save people in this world, and this job will continue even after we die and return to the other world. Actually, in the other world, almost everything is decided based on religious values. That's why religious work is very important. If you can't go back to heaven because you mistook your life course despite self-reflecting and disciplining yourself while you were alive, please pray. Your prayer will surely reach the heavenly world, and some means of salvation will be at work. Angels will come to help you, or perhaps some other means to save you. Don't forget to pray. Even a short prayer is effective. This is a tool to make contact with a higher realm in the spirit world. It is important to have those kinds of tools. Reflection, prayer, and recitation of sutras are all cell phones that will connect you to the other dimension, the higher realms in the spirit world. I wish each and every one of you experience those things.
After departing earthly life, the deceased are shown the life they just lived. Meaning, with the help from angels, the newly deceased review their lives from start to finish. They hear the thoughts they had and see the things they did. What determines their ultimate destination is a level of spiritual awareness or enlightenment they attained while living in the earthly world. In the other world, almost everything is decided based on your thoughts and deeds. People who live with an honest and good life in this world will be the happier ones in the spirit world. Self-reflection, prayer, and being aware of your thoughts and deeds are just some of the ways to get in contact with and receive guidance from higher spirits to achieve happiness both in this world and the next. If you'd like to learn more about Okawa and the teachings of happy science, visit invitationtohappiness.org or call us at 1-800-710-7777. Here at New York Temple, you will find all of Okawa's publications and video lectures. We are here to support you in building a bright future. Come join us for weekly Sunday workshops and weekday guided meditation sessions. Your happiness is our mission. Okawa will be giving a big lecture in Tokyo Dome in front of 50,000 from all around the world. You can also watch it at a local temple near you. Once again, thank you for accepting our invitation to happiness. And join us next week where we will explore what is needed for world peace. See you next time. Where do we go when we die? The 9 Dimensions uncovers the mysteries of the afterlife.
I use the book it's like the emergency kit when you when you have to think differently, and that's when, oh, where's that book, and you have to look, oh, maybe I have to reread this and hopefully find an answer where you are now. If you're looking for a possible answer in life, then you will like this book.
Why are we here? How do we find happiness? What is the nature of the soul? Imagine if life's questions could be answered. Imagine if we could understand God's designs and intentions and discover more than our life goals, but also how to attain them. In the laws of the sun, Ryo Ikawa shows us the universal spiritual laws and how we can live in harmony with them. Learn how our thoughts influence reality, the nature of love, and the guiding principles on the path to enlightenment. This is a book with answers to life's questions for all in search of spiritual growth. From an author who writes to unite humankind in peace and harmony. The Laws of the Sun. Available now.
The preceding program was sponsored by Happy Science.